The Weather Service has taken the very unique step in issuing a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. All right, this is very rare. This is something that they've just started here the last few years. And the reason the warning has been issued is because there's potential in Ashtabula, Geauga, and Lake County right there for winds up to 80 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour. So in many cases, this is like one large tornado warning. So destructive severe thunderstorm warning. I know it might hit your ear and go, what does that mean? It's actually an upgrade from a normal severe thunderstorm warning. So let's talk about the areas right now being impacted. You can see from Paynesville to Madison up towards Geneva, anywhere you see those brighter reds, we're talking about 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. We showed you earlier at the end of the 6 o'clock news at Fairport Harbor, getting slammed with that very strong wind, almost looked more like a hurricane than a summer thunderstorm in Ohio. Now there's a live look at it now. Of course, it's buffering, but boy, when it would get going, you would see certainly things moving around. So this warning goes until 7:15. Erica, if we could just bring that up just a little bit above that banner, that would be great. We've got heavy rain right now, Madison over to Leroy, certainly in and around the Fairport Harbor area. You can see Ashtabula getting hit with rain. So this is a wall of rain and wind right now, moving onshore like we've been tracking. Now, as far as any spin, we're not seeing much in the way of spin at this point. We're just getting hit with the very strong winds. Again, this is a unique situation. If you're in Ashtabula, Geauga, or Lake, best idea, even though it's not a tornado warning, to get to your safe spot. This is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning, a term and a warning that is rarely used by the Weather Service. That's why we're on the air here treating this in a little bit more importance as a severe thunderstorm warning. All right, meteorologist Erica Page is also monitoring data as we get it. Erica, where do you think, from what you're seeing right now, the worst winds are?
Yeah, so it's going to be hard to sample these winds just given the way these winds are coming in and out across the radials, as we call them, from our Doppler radar here in Cleveland. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to really get a good sample of some of those winds, but really where we're seeing some of the brightest red colors, so just to the west of the Thompson area. Basically, if you live right along the lakeshore, you see that bullseye right there. I'm trying to circle it here. That's where likely we have some of the strongest winds. We had winds registered at Fairport Harbor of 65 miles per hour. There was a point in time when I was watching that camera before we came back on air, I couldn't even see the tree in the distance because of how strong those winds were blowing. There was debris being picked up. So the fact that the National Weather Service issued this for 80 miles an hour is one of the reasons. If you live in this area, your wireless emergency alert system was going off on your phone, because we basically have to treat this like a tornado warning. They are saying in their text for this severe thunderstorm warning that this is an extremely dangerous situation. So again, we have this Fairport Harbor pick. If we can take it again, right now conditions not quite as bad, but you see that tree off in the distance. If you look to the left of your screen, I could not see that when the strongest winds were moving through, and that was just indicative of how strong and damaging these winds will be for areas that are within this warning. So please treat this as if it were a tornado warning. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some reports of power outages as a result of winds to that magnitude. If the ground is a little bit soggier from rain that we've had recently, it's not going to take much of a wind gust to potentially blow over any trees, and unfortunately those trees could then land on power lines, and we could have further issues that go then downstream.
Yeah, Erica, good information there. And as she mentioned, it's not just one location. Like when we track a tornado warning, hey, here's where the spin is. We've got several areas where we could likely be seeing wind gusts 70 to 80 miles per hour. And again, we're not just on the air to hype this up because this is a severe thunderstorm warning. When the Weather Service uses the language, a destructive severe thunderstorm warning with winds to 80 miles per hour. Again, Erica mentioned if you're in this polygon, you likely got an alert on your phone, and right now you're flipping around to see the latest information. I can tell you right now, if you did get that alert on your phone, being inside this polygon, which is a service that most of the phones now have as an emergency alert system, get to your safe spot. Treat this as a tornado warning. lowest point of your home, get away, especially in this particular case when we have so much wind, get away from windows. Don't go outside to take a picture. It's likely raining so hard you can't even see anything. But boy, when we talk about 70, 80 mile per hour winds, that would be indicative of a Category 1 hurricane. It's also indicative of a potential tornado. So again, we haven't had any tornado warnings. We're not seeing a ton of spin at this point, but as Erica is kind of moving on the map here, we get live wind, and you can see 30s easily. Most likely, those numbers are a little bit low as well. You can see the area that is under that warning, basically from just outside of Mentor through Madison, northern sections of Geauga County, western sections of Ashtabula County, again, until 7:15. Not a tornado warning, but a destructive severe thunderstorm warning due to the potential of an 80 mile per hour wind gust. Eric, if we can go back to our radar mode, this is not the only game in town as well. I mean, there is nasty stuff. It's about to move on shore right into downtown Cleveland. Also, look at Lorain, Elyria. We likely have a 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust there. 80 miles per hour, that is the tag that means this is more than just a severe thunderstorm warning. That's when you add the word destructive there. That's when the emergency alert system is then activated automatically via the Weather Service onto the network provider. Zooming into downtown Cleveland, we haven't seen anything really move into along the lakeshore yet, but we are likely going to see conditions go downhill downtown all the way out to Westlake. Over towards Lakewood as well, Avon Lake. It'd be interesting right now. Let's take a live look at our camera over downtown Cleveland. Okay, that is a look at the city there over Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. That's looking off to the south, and you can certainly see those clouds. I don't know if we have our cold storage camera available. If we do, that would be interesting to see as well, because that most likely is looking towards where the storm is coming, and most likely a very dark sky behind the city. There it is. Certainly an ominous look there. And also we have, if we go back to our weather computer, well, we have also our Parma Tower camera right here, and you can easily see the bottom of this cloud. That indicates where we've got those damaging wind gusts, potentially a little bit of almost a view of a shelf cloud, or even some folks, if they're close enough to it, may see a little rotation along the bottom edge of it. But this is basically ready to swallow up the city of Cleveland, moving onshore from Lake Erie over the city of Cleveland. Remember, this severe thunderstorm warning that we're on the air for 80 mile an hour winds, and then we actually have the entire area here under one large severe thunderstorm warning. It's been a long time since I can recall severe thunderstorm warnings from just south of Toledo all the way to Ashtabula County. We have one little area in Erie County that is not represented in this warning. But you can see 100 miles from western Lorain County all the way back up into eastern Ashtabula County. 100 miles of potentially 60 to 80 mile per hour damaging wind gusts. Also, we've had reports and we've seen video and photos of hail. We're waiting on power outages. We're likely going to have those. When you talk about a 70 mile an hour wind or an 80 mile an hour wind, that indicates power outages. And again, these storms are rolling on shore, and they're not going to weaken because the air out ahead of it is juiced up. It's largely undisturbed, meaning we're tapping into fresh energy, and most likely Medina, Summit, Portage, as well as Trumbull and Mahoning, most likely will also go under severe thunderstorm warnings here. We've got about a dozen or so here across northern Ohio. This is the worst weather right now here, blowing into downtown Cleveland, also as you head across the north and east. Let's quickly go back up, Erica, to that area for the reason for us being on the air. It's not a tornado warning, but a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. This is right here into Lake County, northern Geauga, western sections of Ashtabula as well. You see it right here. Most likely some hail there too, Eric. If we could stop playing there, right there, right along Interstate 90. Most likely we have at least quarter-sized hail there as well. You can see just south of Madison, and then along the Ashtabula, Geauga County line there, I should say, back off to the west and just south of Ashtabula. Yeah, we're talking about perhaps half-inch size hail. That would certainly be severe hail in that case, almost a little bit bigger than that. So that's our hail tracker as well that we're also watching for this storm. But the reason we're on asking you to treat this like a tornado warning. If you're in Geauga, Ashtabula, Lake counties there in this polygon right here, because of the potential for an 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. It's been a while since we've had a storm that was this strong, that had that designation. Again, destructive is not something we're saying. This is officially from the folks at the Weather Service who issue these warnings. So it's our responsibility to make sure you have the information to keep you and your family, your property safe. In this case, there's not much you can really do to property, but you can certainly keep yourself safe and get down away from windows and get down to the lowest point of your home, interior closet, certainly in the basement. And we look at this here on our Velocity product. This is inside the storm. We've got a fair amount of wind here, certainly moving through Geneva and Madison. You can see these numbers, Thompson as well. We've got some brighter reds there indicating where those winds could gust 60 mile per hour or plus within this polygon that we see right here. So again, this will move likely onshore and affect areas to the south as well as it moves across Interstate 90 with those very strong damaging wind gusts, potentially up to 80 miles per hour. Current time here is 6:44. It's a 19 first alert weather day, and this warning goes until 7:15 tonight for the counties of Ashtabula, Geauga, and Lake. We've had reports, too, of some fairly large trees out in the Catawba Island area, not near this storm, that were actually snapped off. So this storm has a history of producing these very strong, damaging wind gusts. And there's your concern right now, from Geneva all the way to Thompson and to Fairport Harbor for these very strong winds. Eric, if we could go ahead and slide a little south and west, I would suspect we've got very strong winds coming on shore here into greater Cleveland as well. Look at that. There's a very bright green right there. So we're talking about just west of downtown Cleveland here, some big-time winds about to hammer Lakewood, Rocky River, the west side out towards Edgewater Beach. We've got winds 20 moving away, minus 21. So we've got winds there at 20 miles per hour that we're tracking, at least 20. That's obviously on the low end as this storm moves on shore there just west of Cleveland. Erica, any new information from as far as folks on the ground or any type of ground confirmation on these wind speeds?
Yeah, a couple quick things. So one report that we received, of course, we had talked about the Fairport Harbor wind report of 65 miles per hour. That was the gust close to 635. But we just got a new updated wind gust out of Fairport Harbor that was measured at 81 miles per hour. So that's the magnitude that these winds have moving over the lake. There's no trees, there's no friction to really stop any of that wind or break it up as it moves on shore. So our lakeshore communities have the best chance of seeing some of those strongest winds. We also got another report out of Conneaut of a 56 mile per hour wind gust. So this just goes to show you how strong the winds are, especially with that eastern segment of the storm. And I'll be honest, the winds, and when we try and sample inside these winds, they're not going to sample correctly. So it's going to be really hard. You basically just have to look at the colors, and if the brighter it is, likely the worse that wind is in that specific area, unfortunately.
Yeah, very tough to sample those. You're right. You're not going to get the fair number. But wow, I don't know if you heard what Erica just said. She said we have confirmation of an 81 mile per hour wind gust out at Fairport Harbor right here. Right there, and that's where we're showing you those live pictures of during our 6 o'clock newscast. So that's the reason. Most likely they got that information because it's hard to see via the data. They most likely got that information and went ahead and issued this destructive severe thunderstorm warning. And in many cases, this is worse than a tornado warning, or at least it's as bad as severe, because we've got confirmation that we've got an 80 mile per hour wind, and that will do considerable damage. And when you looked what was happening west of downtown Cleveland as well, that was not encouraging, with all those older trees in Lakewood and Rocky River and the rain, and their roots get a little bit soft, and we could see those tumble over too when we even talk about a 60 mile per hour wind gust, let alone an 80 mile per hour wind gust here. That's the reason we're on the air. Again, we treat severe weather as the top priority here at 19 News, no matter where it is. We have a large area here in northern Ohio that we do cover. So a tornado warning across Tuscarawas County is treated like a severe thunderstorm warning with very strong winds in Cuyahoga Cuyahoga County. And in this case, we've got the destructive severe thunderstorm warning in a relatively populated area here. We're talking about much of Lake County. So from Mentor to Madison, all the way up just west of Ashtabula. You can see where the brighter colors are. Again, tough to see, but it's a good bet that within this polygon, we've got those 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts that are going to roll on in, and then a few more gusts west of Cleveland, another one there just north of Lorain, north of Avon Lake there, as we are on the air right now here, coming up almost on 6:50 here as this warning goes until 7:15. There's the polygon that we're watching. Now, Jeff Slauson is always monitoring situations with either digital or social media, pictures, video, power outages as well. Jeff, they're probably slow to come in right now.
Yeah, we're getting them slowly. The polygon that you had up there pretty much matches this right here. So this is the outage map that we see from First Energy that we use. So I think that polygon, Jason, that's pretty close to matching there, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit east of it, but both of them are in that area. Yes.
So we're starting to see those outages kind of match where these storms are following here. Let's go back here. We're going to hit on a couple of things. Just been tracking these as we've been learning more information here. So Lake County right now has 2,890 outages right now. So that's, I believe, about 2% of all customers. And remember, that's customers, not people, because that's basically homes or areas that all use the exact same grid. So we're seeing about 2,890 customers affected there. Ottawa County has seen a few, obviously opposite side, but the actual outages are slowly starting to roll in. But here's the thing. We're starting to see some real fallout from these storms. Let's start at Blossom. Tonight is the Jason Aldean concert, and we just saw this on Twitter here. Attention Jason Aldean fans, we are currently monitoring weather and holding doors. They ask that fans safely seek shelter at this time. If you're in the venue, seek shelter at the nearest structure. If you've not entered, go back to your car. So they're already limiting the people that are going in there, and then lastly saying that they are monitoring the weather and are going to provide updates. So if you were planning on going to the Jason Aldean concert, it's delayed right now. They're holding people at the gate. So if you're trying to get in, you can't. If you're in there, you need to stay safe. The last thing before we get back to Jason here, the airport's already seeing some delays too. So this is starting at 7:34. I know that's hard to see. I'll just pull this even tighter there. So starting at 7:34, these are flights that are leaving. These are departures. We've seen a number, this one just got added. Yeah, San Francisco 7:41, delayed. So the delays are starting to rack up at the airport as well. I mean, look at this. So we're already starting to see some delays, potentially weather affected, Jason, but of course, keeping up to date on all of that.
No, planes, not only airplanes have trouble taking off in this, it's the folks on the ground that are responsible for bringing the planes into the gates, and it's the baggage handlers, it's the food service folks who work on the ground at Hopkins and down at Akron-Canton Airport. Certainly at Hopkins, this is getting to the point where they don't want them to be outside, so then they just basically have to at least stop everything for the time being, as well as flying through this stuff. So we've got a lot going on, as I mentioned earlier, about a 100-mile wide severe thunderstorm warning. So this is very significant. There's a live look right now, downtown Cleveland. Certainly an ominous sky there. We obviously have rain now into downtown, and the clouds obviously don't look all that great. This is our Lake Erie Crushers cam. This is out in Avon, and notice we've got a lot of rain there and wind coming into the Avon Lake area. That's right along Interstate 90, near the Route 83 exit there, and most likely a lot of thunder in this as well. This is a good old-fashioned big summertime thunderstorm, but the reason we're on the air is destructive severe thunderstorm warning, potentially with winds up to 80. In fact, not potentially. This storm is producing winds up to 80 because we already had an 81-mile-an-hour wind gust there in Fairport Harbor in Lake County and also out towards Ashtabula County. This is 90 right now. There's Avon. We're getting hit with a lot of wind and rain. Notice the farther north you go, still more wind and rain. Now, the worst part of the winds typically with this storm will be right along the leading edge and right along the lakeshore. Now, for the most part, this storm has moved onshore. But yeah, as this pointer shows, notice the brightest colors. That's where the winds are at their strongest. This is where we could be seeing 60+ mile per hour wind gusts. Erica, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure you have your pulse on these warnings. This is still just a normal severe thunderstorm warning, right?
This does have the considerable tag on it.
Considerable.
I am monitoring some winds on radar that are upwards of 60 miles per hour at least. but they're saying winds up to 70 miles per hour will be possible for portions of Cuyahoga as well as Lorain counties. So if you are in the Avon area, Bay Village, Westlake, be mindful that there are some pretty strong winds out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did have some damage as a result. One other quick damage report. This is coming in out of Fairport Harbor, where we did register that 81 mile per hour wind gust earlier. They are noting that there is widespread tree damage in Fairport Harbor.
Sure. I mean, 80 miles an hour, that's a big deal. And as Erica mentioned, this severe thunderstorm warning for basically Cuyahoga County, western Cuyahoga County into Lorain County, this area here, you see that bright green right there? That's likely producing a 70 mile per hour wind gust, 60 to 70 miles per hour. This warning goes until 7 o'clock, so 7 more minutes on that. My plan, control room, is to be on the air until 7 o'clock, and then we can go back to regular programming, and if we need to break in again, we will. Just want to let you guys know there in the control room our plan. Now, if they make any changes or make any additions to this, we will let you know. This destructive warning is still going until 7:15. We've talked about that. And then we have the other warnings for considerable potential damage, or considerable warning, I should say, to 70 miles per hour. But the big one is up here in this polygon, still in effect until 7:15 because of what happened in Fairport Harbor. We were on the air live showing you video of that camera coming in on shore. And again, right along the lake shore, as Erica Page mentioned, there's nothing to block these winds from coming in. It's not like inland areas where you've got a little bit more to block the winds. The problem with inland areas, you got a whole bunch of trees and homes. Along the lake shore, yeah, you do have that a little bit as well, but once it gets in, you get certainly affecting a lot more folks. So a little cell here, potentially some strong winds south and also west of Chardon. There's your potential for 80 mile per hour winds. That's why we're on the air, destructive severe thunderstorm warning. No tornado warnings at this point, but even when we get off the air at 7, as we're planning to do, we're still going to watch the leading edge of these areas, this line of rain and thunder coming in. And you can even see here, this area out towards Ashtabula, while it is out of this destructive polygon, it's still in the general severe thunderstorm warning. This is also producing very strong winds. 60, 70 mile per hour winds are possible as well. And the reason this polygon was issued and written this way is because of what happened in Fairport Harbor and that same cell moving down to the south. So I'm sure the Weather Service is also looking at other areas that are bright across northern Ohio. The bottom line is we are getting hit right now with a very damaging wind event across northern Ohio. Folks are going to say, is this a derecho? Whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter because we are in the midst of it right now. How about in and around Elyria? We've likely got some hail that's going to come on shore right now. Look at that purple there. Avon, again, that Avon Crushers camera really showed us what was going on. You can see Westlake there. There's our hail core. Erica, this is a pretty good hail core right there, right along I-90, 1-inch size hail. So that is significant. That is significant hail, no doubt about it. That could cause some damage. Let's take a look again at our Lake Erie Crushers camera. Probably tough to point out. Yeah, unfortunately, it's only a sky shot because they probably had a little bit of hail there, but we really can't see it on the ground just because the shot's too wide. If it was a zoomed in shot on something maybe a little bit tighter, we could probably see a little bit of that hail, at least dime size or quarter size hail, but undoubtedly some rough weather happening there. And this is a look here from Sheffield to Avon. You can see this blue. Wow, this is just south of Interstate 90. In fact, does cross Interstate 90 a bit. This is some hail. Certainly quarter size, probably larger than that there outside of Sheffield. What was that? Say that again, I'm sorry. Okay, that is, yeah, that's certainly some standing water there, perhaps some hail as well on the ground. Really tough to see. That could be, yeah, that could be hail on the ground there. I think so. Well, it's a lot of rain, and certainly the evidence is there for potentially some hail that did fall there in Avon, just south of Interstate 90 there, and right along 90 near Lake Erie Crushers Park. Okay, so to recap, we have about 100 miles wide this severe thunderstorm warning that is going to expire at 7. Erica, have they reissued for our southern counties yet? They have not. They've reissued off into Pennsylvania. We haven't seen an update yet for Summit and Medina. Don't worry, that is coming, of course. And even off to the west, Sandusky and Norwalk also getting hit with some rain as well. Right along the lake shore, and we've got hail right now through Geauga County. You can see wherever you see that gray indicates a hail core there. Basically in the chimney of Geauga County, in and around the Chardon area. Chardon right now getting pounded with heavy rain, wind, and hail. Likely the worst weather right now is in the Chardon area. A lot of thunder, potentially some large hail, as well as those damaging wind gusts in excess of 60, 70 miles per hour, and perhaps even stronger than that. This storm means business. The ingredients, the fuel, it was there all day. We talked about it. That's why we're under a 19 first alert weather day here today, here just before 7 o'clock. All right, a meteorologist, Jason Nicholas, Erica Page is here with me as well as Jeff Slauson. We've been monitoring these storms. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning for Cuyahoga County, Lorain County, basically up and down the lake shore until 7 o'clock. We have the destructive severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15. But for the most part, Erica, it looks like the worst part of that storm has moved just out of that polygon, at least the original polygon, right?
Yeah, I'm really not, if we turn on our winds, I'm not really seeing as strong of winds, especially with that initial push that we can tend to get. Right now, it looks like maybe some of the strongest of the winds between Ashtabula and Orwell. At this point in time, we'll sample it. We'll see what we can get out of this at this point. So we're getting better with our sampling at this point, 45 miles per hour. But really what I'm more concerned with is actually this segment that's just moving through the Avon area. I mean, that really has some pretty strong winds. I've sampled at least upwards of close to 70 miles per hour. So if you live in the Avon, Sheffield areas, please be mindful that this is a pretty powerful storm that's rolling through your area right now.
Very good. All right, Erica, great work there. Again, we will continue to watch these storms. If we have to come on again for an update on the destructive severe thunderstorm warning or any type of tornado warning, we will do so. For now, I'm Jason Nicholas along with Erica Page. We'll send you back out to your regular program.